Welcome to Redbeard Radio. I'm Brian Keith, and today we have yet again someone who has done something 10,000 times. The question at hand is how to build a course that people actually want, and how do you know that the course you're building is something that people actually will want? And our expert leading the way today is Nathalie Lussier of Access Ally, one of the top membership apps, one of the two I recommend most frequently for people who want to build their membership platforms on WordPress. Nathalie, welcome to Redbeard Radio.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian. This is going to be awesome.
It is so exciting, and in part because I have a failure story, and I know, dear listeners, that you love hearing how I've utterly failed in the past. So let me regale you with a tale of woe. Some years ago, I was building a tool, an analytics tool, and I had various names for it, Redbeard Pulse or Smart Campaign Reports. And I figured out a way between using Keep and Google Sheets and Zapier and plus this to build an incredible analytics tool that could tell you all kinds of stuff you can't normally see, all the way down to during what time of day is which of your salespeople most productive selling which products based on how much profit you make on that product. And Nathalie, let me tell you, it was gorgeous. It was beautiful. I called myself a sort of app developer. I was so proud. And do you know what happened, Nathalie, when I put up the sales page and started talking about it?
Crickets?
I think it was 3 sales.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe
yeah.
slightly more than 0. But what I found was that while what I was doing was cool, even my buddy Greg Jenkins, he said, I can see what you're doing there, but I don't have the appetite for it. And I thought, oh no, I built this cool thing that told you information you could not otherwise get, but it wasn't actually solving a real problem that customers wanted to pay money for. Now, the only good thing I did, Nathalie, there was something like 20 parts of the done product. I only built out 4 or 5 of them, and then I tried to sell it. So I discovered before I'd invested way too much time that, there's actually not a market for this product in this fashion. But I put a fair amount of energy into this. So today, you're going to tell us how to not do what I did and instead understand, do people actually want this before you build it out? And we even have a good case study because I'm just launching a super secret project right now, folks, where I'm taking the content in my book, The Impact Framework, and turning it into a course. And I'm going to do it using your app, Access Ally. So you're going to go and you're going to help me not make the same mistake I made with the Smart Campaign Reports tool. And all you folks listening in are going to hear about how to not do what Brian did when he was dumb and instead do what Brian's about to do because he's going to be smarter. There's the promise of the next 15 minutes of your life, folks. Nathalie, take it away. Where do we start to make sure we're building a course that someone actually wants?
Yeah, so I have a very similar story with the first course I tried to create and sell online. And this was over a decade ago now. But I was in the healthy eating market and I was self-taught and I was like, okay, I'm going to put together a course. That's what you're supposed to do. And I just put up a sales page probably in a weekend or a week. And I named my course something like Set Yourself Up for Success in Healthy Eating. And I did a webinar, which actually back then was like a teleseminar before we had webinars. And, I had 0 people purchase, just, total failure too. And then what I realized, I regrouped and I said, okay, I asked my coach, because I had a business coach, what should I do to actually make sure people buy? And so what she said is, okay, well, first of all, the name of your course is way too generic. People don't know what they're going to get. No one knows what success in healthy eating means. So we took a step back. And what I did is I basically interviewed a bunch of people and I asked them, what do you struggle with around healthy eating? And after talking to a couple of people, and what I ended up doing was I just gave free sessions where people could just talk to me. And that's how I got them to say, yes, I will talk to you. So I was just kind of coaching them on those sessions. And the pattern that emerged after talking to enough people was that they had a hard time with cravings. And they, wanted to eat healthy, but they craved, not so healthy food. So I ended up renaming my program and I called it Cure Cravings Forever. And the whole content was very similar to what I was planning to teach in the first place. It was kind of about healthy eating habits and all these other things that, are kind of foundational and would have helped no matter what. But the difference this time is that when I released it and when I put it out there, I had 20 people sign up within the first couple of days. And that was huge. That really changed the course of that program and that business and, essentially led to where I am today and now building software for all of this. But that was huge. It was actually talking to people and seeing those patterns and not trying to think about it from my perspective and what I think they needed to learn, but what they were really struggling with and what they needed help with. So that's kind of my personal story of like how I turned it around when it completely bombed. But I also think there are other ways to do it these days if you don't want to get on the phone with someone. And I have some ideas for that too, if you want to hear those.
Well, first, I want to break down what you just said you did. So the first thing was you assumed the position of humility, let's call it, drawing on my own story. And instead of saying, I know more than my audience knows about what they want, you asked them. So that's step one. And then step two was you reframed even the name of your course from what are you trying to go to what are you trying to get away from?
Yes.
Which loss aversion is a huge thing. And when I think even about the name of the new project I'm working on, which I'm taking the phrase impact framework, which describes the tool, but doesn't describe the benefit. I'm moving to the name Design Your Business because what I'm selling is that if you are anywhere from startup through six figures, that the chances are you did not intentionally design your business as well as you could have. And through this body of work, I have this 6-part thing, which if you hit all 6 of these things, your business runs better and you make more money. So if we can identify through this tool which of those things is broken and you fix the broken thing, you make more money. So that's the design your business mindset. But if I look at what you just did, I'd say, well, actually, maybe instead of design your business, I might use a phrase like stop systems chaos or the stress less system, the Redbeard stress less system, something like that, identifying the thing they're trying to get rid of.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
Absolutely. I think that those both really resonated with me. So I think Design Your Business sounds great.
Hold on, folks. Well, I'm going to go buy a different domain name. See, this, folks, is why you should talk to smart people like Nathalie. And accessally.com is accessally.com. Did I spell that right?
You sure did. Great.
So case studies and talking to smart people. So I actually am going to go type down what I just said. Thankfully, everything's recorded on a podcast. Did you know? What did I actually say? I said stop.
Stress less was one of them.
Stress less system, and maybe I should go buy that before I hit publish on this podcast episode, because that's the thing, right? Is that there's a couple of things happening. There is Design Your Business, which is what we're doing. But why? Why? The why is so you profit more and you stress less. And when I talk to a lot of people before I started my Redbeard Accelerator program, which is my group coaching available at joinredbeard.com, I talked about the two main things I do for my COO clients because I do fractional COO work. And for my fractional COO clients, I do two things. I help train your team and organize your team better, and then help you deploy more of the right systems in your business. And when I talked to my prospects for the Redbeard Accelerator, I noticed that when I said, well, here's what I do in general, what are you most interested in? Nathalie, they always focused on, man, getting more of the right systems deployed in my business would really make a big difference. Mm-hmm. Even the people who have team problems where their team is not organized as well as it could be, they're mostly not talking about. They're mostly talking about deploying the right systems. So I just dropped off the phrase, train your team, even though it's a thing that I do.
Yep.
Even though it's an important thing that I do. Because actually the clients are saying, the prospects are saying, I need better systems. So that's what I focus on. And everywhere you see the branding for the Redbeard Accelerator, you'll always see the phrase deploy the right systems in your business. Because then I go into that, like there's deploy, there's what are the right, and then there's what kind of systems we're talking about here. Those three things enable this whole conversation. So let's talk more, Nathalie, about how to design the course. You assumed the humble position. You listened to your clients. You talked about what they wanted to avoid. What did you do next to go and make sure that you built the course your people actually wanted?
Yes. So the other thing I did was I tried to create the course live. So this is a mistake I see a lot of course creators and membership site creators do, is they will withhold creating the course or selling the course before they create all the content. And kind of what you were mentioning in your kind of first trial is if you do all this work and then it doesn't sell, then you put in all this effort, then you're not going to get any returns for. So what I did was I did all the sessions live. So I had people on with me live while I was teaching. Today you would use Zoom or something along those lines, and you can still do, screen sharing or slides or any of the stuff you wanted to prepare in a video format. And then what you do is you turn those recordings into your course, your first version of your course. And if you want to publish it up and do like a nice edited version later, you can always re-record those. But by doing it live, what you do is you get to answer people's questions. You get to see where they're interested, where they seem to fall off track a little bit. And that helps you improve what you're talking about and what you're teaching so that you're really meeting the people where they're at. And even though you might be teaching different people the next time you open your course for enrollment, there tends to be a lot of overlap between groups of people. So if people are kind of losing focus at, module 2, and there's a way that you realize, okay, no, actually they're really struggling with this issue. Maybe I should move that to the first module because I know everyone's excited in the first module. You can make some of those changes and those tweaks for the next time that you reopen it. But you wouldn't have that feedback if you just have a static delivery model. And so that's something I really recommend is having at least some sort of live facilitation. And that also makes sure that you actually launch, because I think a lot of times as perfectionists, which a lot of us are, we'll spend all this time polishing, making sure we include everything we want to include in the course, and then we never launch it and never release it. So once you have at least, I would say like 1 or 2 modules outlined, you can start to get ready to launch and get people enrolled. And then obviously once you have people signed up, that lights a little fire under you to actually get everything pulled together and, presentable so you can do your presentations live, get the feedback, and then when you're ready, you can come back and re-record or make them a little bit more professional for the next round. So that really, really helped me. It helped me get out of that perfectionist place and also helped my students and my customers to make sure that they got what they needed so that I wasn't speaking at the wrong level for them or forgetting important things that maybe they didn't know about.
I love it. Launch live, folks. We're doing this with my client, LearnSenseMaking.com right now. LearnSenseMaking.com is where you can go to take a course on how to think better. And it's complicated, so you sort of have to go to LearnSenseMaking.com to learn more. But my client, Michael, he's taught the class live something like 4 or 5 times now, and it's an 8-week class. And now that he's taught it live a bunch, now we are turning it into an automated version. And we're going to stratify where there'll be the automated version, then there'll be the live version, and they'll turn into 2 different classes with 2 different audiences. But we'll have that automated version available at a much more affordable price point than the live class. But we did it, like he did that 4 or 5 times, and I've attended the class as a student. So I have this somewhat deep understanding of his topic area, and he knows because he's explained it so many times. And then I'm doing the same thing with the Design Your Business Challenge, where I'm taking what I've taught in the Redbird Accelerator, and I had my first cohort come into the accelerator, and I taught through the topics from my book. So that was a 2-month period. And then I did it again when I had the next cohort show up. So I've gone through these, and I have all these recordings of how did I actually explain this live? And how did I actually explain it live the second time? And now I can look at those transcripts, I can listen to it, and I can say what actually worked. And I can even look, because the way I teach my classes is I have people in a Google Sheet. When you're in the accelerator, we have a Google Sheet. We all work together on whatever the big idea is. And so we all create notes as we get to see each other build out our businesses. So I can look at all my notes and I can think, well, given all this, how do I actually want to explain, let's say, the concept of long-term change and what a long-term change might look like around these 3 ways that I define it? And so when I get to teaching that part of the Design Your Business Challenge that I'm doing it, I'm not like, well, I wonder how I could explain it. It's here's how I have explained it. And which of those have worked best. So I love the launch live. Now tell us, Nathalie, once someone does that launch live, how do they take that and translate that into an actual course, an automated course powered by Access Ally? What does that process look like?
Yes. So essentially what you want to do is either take those recordings, or if you plan to re-record, you can do that too. And then you put them into what we called our offering wizard. So the reason Access Ally calls it an offering wizard is because some people have courses, some people have memberships, some people sell downloads or PDFs, or there's other things that you might be offering access to, and it might not all be just a course or just a membership. So you can go through the Access Ally offering wizard and design exactly what you want it to look like in terms of the structure. Do you want modules? Do you want lessons? Do you want everything to flow? Do you want things to release month by month or week by week? How do you want the flow to happen? Maybe it's progress based. So if they finish the first module quickly, they can move on to the next one. It's really up to how you want to design it based on the type of content and teaching that you're doing. And then from there, you can also decide, how you want to price it. Do you want this to be a recurring product and recurring subscription? Do you want to do a payment plan, or a special discount if they pay up front. So you can do all of that inside of the Access Ally offerings wizard and create all of your order forms and everything that's tied to your product. And then really it's on WordPress. So you put in your videos, you put in your content, and then you can use the Access Ally features to track. So are people watching the whole video? Are they checking off the objectives that you set for them? You can also put in really simple quizzes to help people absorb the material better, or even just check their understanding of the concepts that you're teaching. And you can even use the quiz. This is something that I really love doing when they first come into the course or the program, and kind of assess where they're at. And then you could recommend to start, say, if they're advanced, they could start in module 3, or maybe you have different content for people who are at a different space. So you can really guide them and just show them the right content for them based on how they answered that incoming quiz. So it doesn't have to be, a pass or fail quiz. It can also be sort of a personality test or a scoring test. So we can kind of see where they're at and what would benefit them the most once they come into your content. So that's another way to kind of automate, but also have a more personalized experience right inside of your membership site, so that people can have the experience they need to be successful, and you don't have to bog everybody down with the same content if they're at a different level.
Let's have some fun and explore how to use this technology, not just for courses, but even for lead generation. There's 3 things that I do. I have the Redbeard Accelerator, which is on the affordable side, and it's for companies from startup to 6 figures to help deploy the right systems in your business. Then I have one-on-one coaching, which is in the middle of the price range, which is appropriate for all those companies, but also in the 7 figures, depending on your problems. And that's really focused on solving 1 or 2 problems. And then we have the fractional chief operating officer, where I spend a huge amount of time on your company. And that's for companies in the higher 6 and the 7 figures. So I'm imagining I could use Access Ally to go have a quiz, and I could talk about in some depth, here's some concepts and here's some questions related to where your business is at. What are your problems? How much would it make you if you solved these problems? And as a result, lead people into saying, depending on where they fit, it sounds like what you're saying, what you actually need is you need my coaching services. We need to get on the phone about every other week for an hour. Here's the cost per month. Here's what it looks like. Here's some of the big problems. If that's right for you, click here to go book your first call. And I can just have that all be automated, right? All automated through Access Ally. So I'm only delivering the actual content and having to spend less time on individual sales consultations. Does that sound right to you?
Yep, absolutely. And then the benefit of Access Ally on top of that is that it's all tag based. So based on how they answer those questions, you could apply a tag back in Keep or your CRM and basically follow up with them if they don't book that call, or if you want to just have them in a different list and just kind of be able to follow up with them a little bit better. You can do that all through tagging and automation.
Yeah, like if someone is a good fit for the Redbeard coach offering, but they don't book a time, or if they book a first call, but then they never actually show up to it, there's all kinds of ways I could customize what they get delivered. Then we can take that idea and we could pull it back into talking about courses. And we can say, what if someone completes 80% of your course and then they fall off? Access Ally enables us to know that, right? Step 1, know it that they've fallen off, but then follow up with them to get them re-engaged. What are some of your favorite strategies around that, Nathalie?
Yeah, so with Access Ally, you can also keep track of whether they've logged in recently. So you could email them and remind them. Like a lot of times people just get busy and they lose track of what they signed up for. So there's tons of great automations you can do to remind them, hey, you signed up for this. These were the goals you wanted to achieve, and come on back in and keep going. So there's some great stuff you can do there. The other thing is around gamification, point systems, and leaderboards. So you don't have to go all the way to leaderboards if you don't want to, but just giving people a little bit of that gamified experience where, let's say they log in for the first time and they earn 10 points, and then they complete that quiz and they earn 50 points. And then maybe they watch the first video and they earn another 50 points. And all of that has a very self-reinforcing, motivating loop. And then you can use the points to do all kinds of cool stuff. Like maybe you give them bonus content, or maybe after they've, completed all of these items, they get a certain amount of points. They can redeem it for a coaching session or something else that's really highly valuable to them, and to kind of increase that engagement and that motivation to keep going. Because again, like people really do get busy, but I think if there's something in it for them, they really do come back. They're really, curious to see what's next and what gets unlocked. It kind of has that social media effect a little bit where you want to see what people are responding with. And so that's another great strategy. And then also with Access Ally, we have something called private notes. And this is where you can interact directly with your customers and your clients and people who are in your membership site. And we can basically post things that are private to them. And they can also ask questions privately to you right inside the members area. And so you could do cool stuff. So maybe they reach a certain milestone and then you record a quick video just for them saying like, congrats, I'm so excited you're here. Here's what's next for you. Here's that next level where I can see you reach that. So there's so much you can do once you really get into it, for sure.
So many choices, folks. There is an option, Nathalie, for this demo on accessally.com. Tell us what happens when someone gets one of these live demos. Because you just gave us 20 different good ideas and we have to know where to start, right? That's a promise. Oh, well, there's 20 things, so I'm just going to stay with what I have and not go develop the next thing. Is the demo the right place to go to get some of these questions answered about what course a particular person should follow?
Absolutely. So if you're curious to know if Access Ally would be a good fit for what you're trying to create, we can walk you through that. And Kimberly on my team is amazing at simplifying. So if you're like super overwhelmed or if you're like, oh, I want to do like 20 things, she will, break it down for you and say, okay, here are the 5 things you can start with. And once you have those, we can circle back to those other ideas that you have. And we'll really help you implement the things that really improve sales first, because I think once you have that, then you can fine tune that engagement and all the other pieces that we talked about. So, it's a lot more profitable and it makes sense to reinvest into your membership site and your member experience.
Second to last question, Nathalie. If someone hears all this and they think I am in, but they don't have the skills or the time to deploy it themselves, can you help them find somebody who would be a good fit for their firm to get all of this fun stuff live?
Absolutely. So we have Access Ally certified experts and we have a directory on our site. And we're also happy to make connections if you're not sure because, you're like, I'm not sure who I need. This, this is new to me. We'll definitely be able to connect you with the right person. And we have people who are more on the design side, more on the automation side, more on the course design side. So whatever it is that you think you really need help with and support around, there are experts that can help you do that.
Beautiful. Folks, to find Nathalie, you're going to go to accessally.com. Also, I have a survey out where I'd love to hear your feedback on Redbeard Radio. Right now, it lives at redbeardsurvey.com, which goes to Typeform. By the time you hear this interview, it may be powered by Access Ally. So go over redbeardsurvey.com. There's just 5 questions there. I'd love to hear your feedback. Nathalie, where can people find you on social media?
Yes, so I'm mostly hanging out on Twitter these days. It's at Nat Lussier, NATHLUSSIER. And Facebook, if you want to go there too, it's /Access Ally TM. And those are kind of the main places that I'm hanging out on social these days.
Wonderful. Nathalie, thanks for being on Redbeard Radio.
Thank you for having me.